So we've had some updates so far that I think are really cool with the animals. So far we've just had ball pythons being added to the group of animals we have here. But today we have a very different species, something that you'll probably recognize because they're so popular right now. That being this little guy right behind me. So this right here is an adult Crested Gecko. The previous owners had him for 4 years, but they don't know how old he actually is. And he is a male. Now luckily he was in pretty good conditions. The owners were just getting rid of him because they're going to be going off to college and won't have time for him. So there's no like serious issues with him. It looks like there really won't be any sort of rehabilitation. Looking like a very healthy individual.
However, it will still need a new home and just some owners who care for him and appreciate him as a species and as an animal and as just something really, really cool.
I think he could use more attention. They really never handled him at all. He seems perfectly fine with it. Got one little nip, felt like nothing. That was just the very first time I touched him. And since then he's been completely fine with no issues with that, so I think he'll be great for someone to handle and keep.
You can see he's a little bit frisky. One of the really cool things about this guy is he still has a complete tail. Many crested geckos notoriously lose their tails. They are just very sensitive tails, but I guess that because he was never handled because the owners were too scared of him, it meant that he never lost his tail, which is actually really cool. It doesn't hurt them to lose their tail, but they kind of look pretty awesome with a tail. So it's kind of cool that he still has it on there. Although crested geckos are a pretty average species in the pet trade, you see them a lot, they're still really cool. This is my first time ever handling one or seeing one myself, and I'm really blown away by how pretty it is and how cool the crests look.
Yeah, I didn't actually realize it until picking him up the very first time. I had never held a Crested Gecko before. If you're following on Instagram, it's @_emeraldscales. You already have seen him along with a couple other new additions that we haven't actually put on YouTube yet. So if you want to get even quicker updates, you can follow there to see what new animals are coming into Emerald Scales.
Their eyes are so dazzling, they're so big and round.
So he came with 2 enclosures. I think they kind of swapped them back and forth between them. He was in this 10-gallon, it's just normal 10-gallon flipped on its side, which is pretty small for a Crested Gecko. Overall he seems pretty used to it, but we're going to upgrade him to something that fits his side a bit more to give him some nice room to explore. Your eyes.
One thing about crested geckos and pretty much any arboreal space is they value vertical space a lot more than horizontal space. This was the other enclosure that came with him, but it sounds like they were probably keeping it just down normal. However, crested geckos really like that climbing space, so it's always important to make sure they have a lot. So that's why we're going to arrange it upwards like this. This is a cool little trick / tip with Ethan. You can save a lot of money. You don't need to buy one of those fancy Exoterras. If you just buy a standard 20-gallon, flip it on its side, you just need a couple clips. Clip there and clip there, and you're good to go. All of a sudden you have a vertical enclosure.